everyone. This is Dr. Cheryl Selman, and welcome to the Love Code. Thank you for joining me. It's so great being with you, as always, because it's an opportunity to have really meaningful and uplifting conversations, especially at this time when we need to be reminded about the power that we have to create our reality. And that is exactly what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, at least it's framed in an interesting way. We're going to be talking with my guest, Anita Scott, who has just released a new book called The Universe is Your Search Engine. So if that sounds intriguing, stay with me for the rest of the show. Before we jump in, I always like to say, please go to my Facebook page, What Women Must Know. Like me over there, because I get to post all of my shows. And if you've been listening for the first time, I just want you to know I have a second show on Progressive Radio Network every week called What Women Must Know, hence the name of the Facebook page. So if you want to receive these ongoing shows and these great conversations, then either like me over on my Facebook page, What Women Must Know, or you can go to my website, which is Dr. Cheryl Selman, and that's DR, and I'm going to spell my first name because no one ever gets it right. It's SHERRILL, Selman.com, and subscribe to my newsletter, and I will send these shows and other goodies to you right into your inbox, to your email. So hope you will be joining me, and stay tuned to some wonderful, inspiring, and uplifting conversations. So let's get into the show today, because during challenging times, and we all have challenging times in our lives, or times that aren't always challenging, but there are times when there are things that we want to experience more of in our life, we need to really tap into an understanding and an appreciation of the real power that each of us possess, that each of us holds within us. That is the power that we are. So it's all about understanding truly how we create our realities. And I want to introduce my guest today because in her book, The Universe is Your Search Engine, it's all about understanding how we are the masters of our reality. So a little bit about Anita. She's the author of this new book, as we said, The Universe is Your Search Engine, which is a groundbreaking book. She is an inspirational educator and speaker with a mission to evolve humankind, improving the life of others through expanded consciousness. She has been recognized with awards such as the Silicon Valley Business Journal Woman of Influence and Still I Rise Phenomenal Women. With an executive MBA from Pepperdine and 30-plus years across education leadership roles, Anita is a master of simplifying complex principles, making them easy to comprehend and apply. And today, Anita enjoys speaking and helping individuals and companies create their future realities through trademarked courses. So we have a great conversation in store, and from this conversation, my intention, the reality I want to create, is that everyone listening will be empowered to create the future reality that they want to be living in. So it is my very great pleasure to welcome Anita Scott to the show. Hello, Anita, and welcome.
Thank you, Cheryl. Hello, and thank you for having me, and thank you for the intro. I appreciate it.
Well, you are an example of creating your reality, and maybe that actually is a really good place to begin, because your story is very inspirational, and I always find that personal stories really touch us very deeply. I mean, there's lots of great information and content, and it's good to have that knowledge, but when we experience a personal journey of transformation, it touches us in a place that's really in our heart. So why don't you share a little bit about the journey that you have been on and why you have become such a passionate advocate for this upliftment of humankind?
Sure. Well, everyone has a story. Mine is no better or worse than anyone else's, I believe. But when I was 7, my family changed religion, and it brought with it a belief that the world was ending and all the wicked people would be destroyed. And while I didn't believe I was wicked, I always had a sense that I wasn't better than, that there was equality everywhere. And so I couldn't wrap my head around and reconcile how millions of people would die and I would still live. So my my belief was I would die when Armageddon came. So fast forward 20 years, and I'm a single, divorced mom. I don't have any college education, and I'm earning a meager salary and a dead-end job. And I come home exhausted, lying on my couch, and my son is playing outside, and it finally occurs to me that I'm still alive. It sounds strange, but I'm still here. I'm 27 years old, and I'm still here, and the world was supposed to end. What's going on? And I thought to myself for the first time, what if the world isn't going to end? And what if I get to live for another year? And I asked myself, what if my life is a gift? And that's all it took, asking those what-if questions to dissolve that programming. The next day I went out searching for colleges, and as you said, since that time I've earned 3 college degrees, and I've been happily married for more than 20 years, and I love what I'm doing, have a beautiful family. And really, if I can make that transformation, really so can anyone else. And the transformation journey piece of it is that until I was 27 years old, I never thought about what my future could look like. And so it never came into reality. I was just living this life on a hamster wheel pretty much, barely getting by. And once my mind dissolved that programming, I was able to think for the first time about what my future could look like. What do I want it to look like? And since that time, I have this concept. It's not my concept, but I use this concept. Everything that is was a thought first. If I didn't have the thought, then I wasn't living it. Only when I had the thought about what my life could look like did it come into fruition. And so that's the possibility for everybody. 95% of people are thinking 90% of the same thoughts every day. Most people aren't thinking about what their best life looks like. A habit of highly successful people is visualizing their futures 1 to 5 years out. And that's because they're using their thoughts. And that's the only reason why their best life becomes a manifestation. And so really your thoughts are things. And I know people have heard that said a million times, but literally that's what this book does, is it breaks down the science behind how thoughts are things and how the law of attraction intersects and intermingles with it to deliver your life experiences.
Wow. So first of all, I want to go back to that early life. That is such a powerful programming to be involved in a community that where you've been raised and have these beliefs that the world was going to end, and the few who are true believers will survive, and everyone else will, I don't know, wherever they go to hell, whatever. That's a pretty. That belief system is, first of all, it's ingrained from the beginning in your life, right? It's ingrained while you're in the womb. That's a very powerful programming to have created. I'd like to say it's like that was the matrix, right? And I think what's inspiring for all of us to know, and if one person can do it, anyone can do it, is that you came from this very fearful, limiting, restricted perception of reality, very fear-based, and you were able to emerge from it. You were able to wake up. So it doesn't matter what anyone has experienced early on in their life. We have the power to transform. And the other interesting thing that I noticed as you're talking about this journey at 27, I'm not really an astrologer, but I know there are pivotal times in our lives where we can break free. And astrologically, around 28 years of age, 27, 28, actually it's a period between 28 and 30, there is a cycle that occurs that allows you to recreate your life from the true destiny of your soul and to break free of the past conditioning that we all have. So that time frame that you mentioned just kind of jumped out at me, because at 28 years of age, that was a pivotal time in my life when I made major transformations. And I know that 28 to 30 year of age time frame is when people leave jobs, they have new jobs, they get married, they get divorced, they move homes. It's a time that ultimately is in this greater cycle of transformation and awareness frees us to find our true self and our true path. So sounds like you were right on schedule, Anita.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I had never heard that before, but it sounds like that's what happened.
Yes, it sounds like it. And that's how powerful this journey has been, that you've created and designed for yourself to be able to have that intense experience as a young person up until 27, and then arrive at a point in your life where you woke up.
Yes. That's how I like to say it. I did wake up. That's correct. That's exactly how I say it. And that's actually what it felt like, too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like a moment, and something happened in this journey, in this lifetime, when these are my words, they're not your words, I'm sure, but in my language, like the soul emerged, like you could hear the soul. The soul is saying, okay, Anita, now it's time to get on with who you really are, not who you've been conditioned to be, but who you really are.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like, and it was. I call it your inner being. And my book there's three components or three parts to it. The first component is the science of the law of attraction and quantum physics and how that works and interplays with your thoughts. And the second part is metaphysics, and that's what we're talking about right now, is that inner being. It's the extrasensory perception. It's your sixth sense. It's that gut feeling. It's that voice that you hear. Literally, you hear that voice, oh, you shouldn't go there, you shouldn't do that. And you call it your gut, but it's your inner being, and that's what was talking to me, and that's what, like you said, that's enough of that. Let's get on with it.
So can I ask you, did you have an epiphany? Did you have an experience? Did you have a dream? Did you have a vision? Was there some particular event that occurred that changed you forever?
No, I was literally, my son was playing outside, and I was on my faux leather couch when the TV was on, and I was laying there exhausted, and I thought, I'm 27 years old. What's going on? And then I said, well, what if? That's when I started asking those what if questions. So it just was my inner being that triggered, because I'd laid there nights before exhausted, but that thought had never come to me. So I think what you're saying about the astrological timing of the age between 28 and 30, I think that's what probably kicked in. Well,
that was a powerful moment. I would call that an epiphany moment, because all of a sudden this thought emerged that you hadn't had before, and it was the thought that changed the trajectory of your life. Yes, absolutely. You're right. Right? Absolutely. So let's talk about this law of attraction. Many people who are listening to the show have probably heard of it, the law of attraction. Many people talk about it. There have been documentaries made about it, and there's so much to be said about the law of attraction, and probably need to delve into what that really means. But let's start with understanding. I love the fact that you've kind of, delving into the scientific, the quantum physics side of things, because I personally love that topic. So what is the law of attraction? Let's break it down for people, because this is what you've been studying and this is what you teach. How do you explain this to people? The law of attraction is the magnetic power of the universe that draws similar energies together. So that's been out there. That's the standard definition that everyone hears. It draws similar energies together. So when I was writing the book, I'm a very literal person. So what does that mean? How does that work? And you mentioned the film. There's been films about it. The Secret came out back in 2007, I think, maybe 2006. And there was a lot of excitement about how your thoughts and your emotions can let you manifest anything you want. And I was excited about it too, but being such a little person, I didn't understand how. Is someone watching me? Is it karma? What really is happening? And so maybe this is a good time for me to explain that the first component that I break down the law of attraction using science. Would that work at this point? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, cool. All right. So the first component is the universe's search engine, which is an energy field.
And this energy field surrounds the planet, and it's responsible for all wireless technology that works by picking up frequencies or signals, searching for matching frequencies, and returning those matches in the form of an experience. And you can take the example of a remote control that opens your garage. When you click it, it emits a signal, and the frequency highway, I call it the frequency highway, the energy field picks it up and searches for a frequency match. And when a signal match is found, an experience occurs in the form of your garage door opening. But that same remote doesn't open your neighbor's garage. It doesn't turn your television on because there isn't a frequency match. So for an experience to occur or a manifestation to happen, there has to be a frequency match between both. And so it picks up, searches for, and returns a match. And the law of attraction draws together similar energies. So you talk about frequencies, signals, energies. They're all the same thing. They're just using different semantics. So I hypothesize that the universe's search engine, this energy field, is the same thing as the law of attraction. Both work to pick up, search for, and return life experiences when there's a matching frequency or energy.
Okay, that makes sense to me, and I love that metaphor of the remote, because I've often thought about the remote to our cars that can lock our cars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a unique frequency because my remote will not lock or unlock anyone else's cars, and there are thousands of cars in a parking lot, and only my unique frequency will open my car.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, this frequency highway.
Right. I don't know if people really think about that, but that's pretty amazing, and that also is a powerful metaphor to use, as you did so beautifully, such a powerful metaphor to understand that we are frequencies. First, before being physical beings, we're energy fields, we're frequencies. We have information that actually is of an energetic nature, which is what quantum physics is all about, right? That's where we have to shift our teachings and our education and our understanding that we are not really just physical beings. We're subtle energy beings that matter is reflecting.
Right. Yes, and the metaphysics portion of the book talks all about that. As far as us being energetic beings, breaking it down to thoughts only, I've also used basic science 101, to demystify how thoughts are frequencies. And I can walk through that really quickly, too, if you'd like.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, great. So, again, it's a refresher, basic science. So all matter is alive with energy, and that energy creates a constant state of vibration. Vibrations produce electromagnetic waves, and those electromagnetic waves emit frequencies outwards, like if you dropped a pebble into water, how it creates ripples outwards. And those scientific principles apply to all matter, inanimate or not. So we can apply them to our thoughts. Each thought we have fires neurons, and those firing neurons produce electromagnetic waves, just like matter. The difference is the frequencies are going to vary according to what we're thinking about. So if you're having positive thoughts, that produces high frequencies, which just means the electromagnetic waves, the frequency of the wave is closer together. The waves are closer together. That's a high frequency. If you're having negative thoughts, you're producing low frequencies, which means the frequency of the wave is further apart. And so your thoughts are literal things producing frequencies that, like a garage remote, emit frequencies outwards that are picked up, searched for, and experiences are returned. That's the literality of it.
Yeah, that's great. So if people are programmed, from their experiences, generally early in life, that they're unloved, that they're not good enough, that the world is unsafe, that they are not loved, those are thoughts that we we interpret an experience. We have an experience, we interpret it, and then we get programmed with this belief system. But those quality of thoughts would be equivalent to the waves that are lower frequencies, because they don't make us feel good. They're not uplifting our spirit. Those are the ones that are kind of further apart. That's what you would call low frequencies. And and operating with those thoughts based on experiences that we've had that create a certain programming and connection in our brain. The neurons actually get wired and firing together based on the perception we hold, is creating that field, that energetic field, and brings back experiences of demonstrating that we're unlovable and, and life is unsafe. When I was a psychotherapist, I spent a lot of time in my practice focusing on relationships, and I always found it so fascinating, and because you would have someone who came from, let's say, an alcoholic family where there was some level of abuse or neglect, and a person could be in a room with 500 people and be attracted to someone who, in the end would be that person who would neglect them and abuse them and, follow into that pattern. Now, isn't that amazing?
Yes, that's law of attraction in action. And it's just like gravity, right? It's a law, it's going to happen. And whatever you're putting out, you're attracting. You're an attractor. What you focus on expands. So even if you're thinking, I don't want this, you're focusing on it. And so what you don't want, you're going to get more of, because what you focus on expands. So the trick is and you're right, you mentioned your feelings. Your feelings are going to indicate what you're thinking about. And if it's not a good feeling, that means it's a negative thought. If it's a great feeling, that's a positive thought. So that's a little trick right there.
Right. So, so that is the first step in what I would call stepping into your power or awakening, to make this connection that your life, if you feel like you're a victim in your reality, then the first step is to understand that somewhere along the line you have made interpretations of an event that led to these limiting thoughts, and you have accepted them and continue them, never question the thoughts, never question the reality of what you are experiencing, and never believing that you have the power to change it. So that's how we all start off. I think we all start off with that level of feeling at effect of life, because in a sense those early years do set things in play, that we do experience these traumas or these limiting thoughts as part of the process of remembering and waking up again.
Yeah, as children, we don't have the cognitive ability to question. So whatever our parents tell us, the clergy tells us, our teachers tell us, authority figures tell us, they just become programs. We don't question them, and that's just how we operate in the world. And so to your point, you have to ask questions. Is this serving me? What if is the greatest question. What if I didn't believe that? What if I didn't believe there was a hell? How would that change me? What if I didn't believe that the world was ending? What if I didn't believe that to work hard is the most important thing? If you ask those questions, you can dissolve those programs, and really it's the external programs that have been laid on you. It's looking internally again, and it's going back to the feelings. What does this feel right? Does this feel good? And listening to that inner voice for the direction instead of the external factors.
So I want to emphasize this point that you just made, because I have been on this path for a long, long time in this lifetime, and recently I have been studying some of the work of Joe Dispenza, and I love what Joe Dispenza is teaching, and what really comes across. Have you done any of his work or studied any of his?
Yes, I know of him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what he's teaching is actually not new. It has been wisdom, esoteric wisdom throughout the ages, And the key point that you brought up, and that I really get from the work of Joe Dispenza and from other spiritual traditions, but it just seems to kind of been crystallized for me, is the connection. You have to have the vision of your future, no matter what it looks like right now. It's irrelevant. It's the vision of the future associated with the feelings that you will have in that future. So you've got to bring the emotional energy in and visualize the future you want. So it's not just the thought, it's the emotion, and the thought is the power. So do you want to elaborate on that? Because I think that's really critical. It's not just having positive thoughts, right?
It is the vision, but yes, what you said about your current state, your current situation and the quality of life you have today is a result of your past thoughts. So it is old news. You're not going to change the situation you're in this very moment because it's a result, it's the fruition, it's the return of your past thoughts. So that's why the first step in becoming a deliberate creator is getting clear on what you want. What does your best life look like?
And
so that's going to be key.
Yeah, I mean that often people often need help with that because they many people have been locked into the limiting low frequency energies of their life for so long. They need to be guided, and that's your work, to understand that you know you're unlimited in what you think. You know, when you talk about the universe as your search engine, to me that's saying everything is there for you. Anything and everything is there for you. It's, you just have to have that commitment to understand that, to put that into your daily process, your daily meditations, and hold true to that intention, no matter what it may appear to be happening in the moment.
Yeah, I'd say that, talking about Dr. Joe Dispenza, I believe it's he who said neurons that fire together wire together. And I believe I already mentioned that 95% of people are thinking 90% of the same thoughts. So literally you reshape your brain, making it easier to think the same repetitive thoughts. And that's why they're feeling stuck, because they're thinking 90% of the same thoughts. And so to break that up, this book that I've written has 3 parts. So I mentioned the first part is science and physics behind the law of attraction and how thoughts are things and how they intermingle to return your life experiences and your quality of life. The second part I mentioned is other components, the metaphysics portion of it. And then the third part is a workbook. There's 9 exercises and 4 challenges because it isn't easy. It's not like, okay, now you know, now go do it. Your brain has been reshaped, and it's not going to be easy to stop thinking about what you're thinking about. And so the solution to that is flip the polarity by instead of focusing on what you don't want. I hate it when my husband doesn't shut the door. But flip the polarity and say, I love it when my husband will start shutting the door, right? I love. Whatever you focus on expands. So you want to flip the polarity and focus on what's wanted. And then these exercises and programs I have a couple of programs, but the exercises in the book will identify your belief systems, and it shifts your perspective so you're able to see things in a different light. So instead of just giving you the information, it is going to be hard to just flip that switch and be a different brain. You can't do that. But you can reshape your brain. You can start doing things differently. And that's what the book will help you do. And then if it's still too difficult and you want to get further faster, then I have these programs that will have you doing mind exercises every day to increase that neuroplasticity and change things up for you.
And that's such an important point, that this is like starting to go to the gym. And if you have never been to the gym and you have no strength and no flexibility, going to the gym, first of all, I would say would be an act of will. You have to have a strong desire, right? Because it's like you're in a foreign world and you don't have the body you want, and it's going to take some effort, and it's probably going to have some pain associated with it along the way as you are working with weights or whatever. So you don't walk into the gym and immediately have the body you want. You go to the gym and you stay committed. It's a discipline. And I think what I want to say about that is discipline is the most important behavior we as human beings can master, because without discipline, we can't have mastery of anything in our life. And if we want to change our reality, it begins with understanding the role of discipline. So you have to commit to something, and you have to commit no matter what else goes on. You cannot be diverted from your goal. So taking that gym analogy again, if you go to the gym on a regular basis, no matter what, you will arrive at a place where you will find greater stamina, greater strength, more muscle mass being developed, and you will feel more excitement and joy and less pain and and frustration. That is what it takes to master anything in life. And the most important game that we can master in life is what you and I are talking about, the game of creating your reality. It just takes fortitude and discipline and finding a path like you are offering in your work to guide people, but they have to be consistent to get results.
Right. Yeah, I have an analogy in my book that it's silly. I'm kind of a silly, quirky person, but it was the only one I could think of that really resembles what the process of growing your self-awareness muscle is like mindfulness and meditation. Meditation sounds easy. You just sit there and close your eyes and try not to think, but it's not, right? It takes discipline because your mind you have monkey mind and things are running rampant. So it is an effort to grow that muscle. And what I say is it's like a newborn baby where urine collects in your bladder and you don't know the whole process. It's released into a diaper several times throughout the day, and you're completely oblivious of those muscles that are controlling the bodily function. And when potty training begins, it requires tremendous focus and effort to learn the many subtleties of bladder control. But with practice, you become more and more familiar with those sensations and those signals until finally the process requires hardly any effort or focus. And today we use the bathroom by rote. And so it's much the same with growing your self-awareness muscle, where in the beginning you don't have cognition that these thoughts are spilling out of you. And when you become aware of these continuous emissions, it takes the focused effort to recognize the sensations that signal what you're emitting. And then with practice, that muscle grows. And really your feelings, again, is it feeling good? Is it feeling bad? That's going to be your direct indicator. And when it's feeling bad, acknowledge it and then flip the polarity to, well, how can I change this? What can I do about this? And if it's too tough, if you can't think of a solution for it, then change your focus altogether to something more positive.
Okay, let's talk about some examples that you have experienced and that you write about and believe are great examples, great inspiration for us. Share with us some of your real life experiences in the courses that you've taught.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, of course, my life is a great example from where I was to where I am. I did lead workshops starting in 2008, and the transformation of the students was incredible, and that's why I decided in 2017 that I had to write this book, because I had to get this information to everybody. Everyone deserves to understand how the universe works so they can harness the powers. One example comes to mind. There was a woman and her husband was ill, and she lived in the Bay Area, and she really was missing her family, but she couldn't leave. They lived in the East Coast. She couldn't leave because of her job. She came in and she talked about what she wanted, and she visualized what she wanted during this weekend session. 2 days later, she was called into the office, and she was let go. And they gave her a huge package of a year of pay, which gave her more than enough money to move home. Her husband unfortunately passed away during that time, but she was with her family. She had the family support, and she didn't have to work during that time, so it was a real gift. So during that weekend, she just got really super clear about what she wanted. And when you match the frequency of your thoughts to the desired state, that's the law of attraction. That's what brings it to you. So again, it just shows you about getting clear. And I can go on and on. I have daily examples.
Wait. Let's stop there. Let me
Okay.
just interrupt there, because that's a great
Sure.
story. And the important point that I want to make about that story is that she did not know what it was going to look like. She had an intention matched with her desired state, which is that emotional part that she, was feeling. But she did not know how it was going to show up. And that, to me, is a really key piece of this journey that we're on of empowering ourselves, is that we set an intention, but it's not our job to figure out how it's going to happen. We just have to focus on the end result, and the process of life will unfold us to that end. But we don't have to figure out. We can never figure out how it's going to happen. There's infinite possibilities showing up how it can happen. Somehow the magic is the unique way that circumstances and the physical reality changes to allow us. So I'm sure she had no idea in this case that she would arrive at heading back to the East Coast because she would lose her job and she would get this separate. I mean, it's amazing how the exact circumstances unfold, but we can't focus there. That's not our job. How it's going to happen. I always say, why is the booby prize, right? It's not why is this. It's like, what do you want, right? Go for the golden ring. Go for the intention, the desired state. Don't try to sit there and ask why. Why is this happening to me?
That introduces static. Exactly right. So what do you want? And just visualize that and bask in that, revel in that. Here's what it looks like, and here's where I am, and here's how fun it is. When you start thinking how, if she would have spent all of her time thinking about how it's going to happen, that's a different frequency. It's on a different lane. It doesn't match the desired output, and that isn't for you to decide. Your job is just figuring out what it is you want and focusing there, and universal forces will come, and I think it's both the law of attraction and the metaphysical component that comes and arrives and delivers it to your feet.
Exactly. So I just felt that's really important, that often we get stuck in how it's going to happen and we try to force circumstances. And the most important thing I've learned is to just keep my focus on the outcome I'm looking for that desired state, and just be centered. And you don't know how it's going to unfold, and we don't want to judge the circumstances that are unfolding because we don't know how it's all going to end. And you know what I mean? We don't know how it's going to wind up in the end, how it's going to support us. We don't know these things, and so we shouldn't judge. We just have to stay focused on our desired outcome and have that inner peace and trust. Right.
There's a parable I include in my book that is a perfect model of executing non-judgment. Is it okay if I read it? It's pretty short.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it'll give your audience a really good idea. All right. Once there was a Chinese farmer who worked his poor farm together with his son and their horse. When the horse ran off one day, neighbors came to say, "How unfortunate for you." The farmer replied, "Maybe yes, maybe no." When the horse returned, followed by a herd of wild horses, the neighbors gathered around and exclaimed, "What good luck for you." The farmer stayed calm and replied, "Maybe yes, maybe no." While trying to tame one of the wild horses, the farmer's son fell and broke his leg. He had to rest up and couldn't help with the farm chores. "How sad for you," the neighbors cried. "Maybe yes, maybe no," said the farmer. Shortly thereafter, a neighboring army threatened the farmer's village. All the young men in the village were drafted to fight the invaders. Many died, but the farmer's son had been left out of the fight because of his broken leg. People said to the farmer, "What a good thing your son couldn't fight." "Maybe yes, maybe no," was all the farmer said. So when you lose your job, maybe you can't see the gift of taking care of your mom who got cancer, right? Or when your relationship ends, you can't see the gift of your soulmate working their way to. You can't see the full picture. So it's not figuring out how it's going to happen. It's just reveling in the vision of what you want it to be. What to your point, what is the outcome I want, and focusing there.
That's such a powerful parable. I love that. I've heard of that before, and it's so true.
Mm.
It's such a great example of we don't know what anything means. We don't know what anything means. So what we're left with is just being present and saying, I have no idea what this means, and let the next moment unfold.
Right. Allow and trust and faith and have a vision of what you want. Because if you don't, it's like entering next into the search engine. You get 5 million replies. You just get what you get. And so that's living life as a passive reactor. And there's so much more fun to have when you're a deliberate creator.
And I think it's just so important to emphasize that we have never been taught this. We've never been trained. It's literally a training. It's like going to the gym. We have to be trained. We have to build up these spiritual muscles. In our culture, we haven't really been given this knowledge before. So when we discover it through conversations like this, then the journey begins. And you have to have a guide. And I think what you're offering through your experience is one of those potential guides. If people understand that they need to commit to it, that this is a discipline. If you want to see the results, of going to the gym and knowing you can recreate your body, you have to give it your all. That means going every day and cleaning up your diet and whatever else is required and holding that thought. If you don't have the thought that I can create a new body, you wouldn't be committed to going to the gym. So this is even more profound because this is truly giving people the keys to the kingdom. This truly is giving you the way out of suffering and the way out of pain and the way out of lack into the possibility, into the reality that you can truly create the future that you want, because this is the truth of who we are. We are conscious, creative beings, and we need to awaken to that truth, and then we need to get out of the prison of the limiting thoughts that have created the reality we find ourselves in and do the work to create a new reality. And there are many ways to do that. There are many paths, there are many teachers, and you are one of them. And that's what, it's wonderful what you're doing, Anne, is offering people a path, a practical approach, having the knowledge. You have to have the knowledge to begin with to understand that there may be another way to perceive reality and to live your life. And then you have to have a practical path that allows you to enact that knowledge and that wisdom and those teachings.
Right. Yeah, traditionally, the law of attraction books were automatically tossed into the spiritual or self-help genre. The terms like hippie and fairy and witch, even further back in history, came up. But there's a bridging of the divide between spirituality and science. With meditation a few years back, made its way into corporate America. There's Google and Nike, Goldman Sachs, and a lot of other companies that made space in their buildings for meditation and encouraged employees to take the meditation because of all the scientifically proved benefits. So science is leading the way, and this book jumps lanes and it breaks the norm because it's using science. So you can't call it airy-fairy anymore. It's based on science in simple, easy to understand application, and it just makes the concepts applicable and available to everyone and to anyone.
So that's great. What about if you have an illness? What do you advise people who are dealing with a diagnosis of some sort? How does this apply?
It's the same, what we talked about before. If you're sick right now, your current state is a result of past thoughts. When you're having negative thoughts, you're probably familiar with Dr. Emoto and his water experiments.
Oh, yes.
Right. And so he had labeled water with different terms like love and hope and then some were hate and envy. And then he took microscopic pictures of the water. He froze it and then took microscopic pictures. And the water that had the term love it rendered a beautiful crystal, just gorgeous. And then the term for hate, the crystal looked, it was discolored and it was frightening looking. And that is water that was outside of your body that these terms impacted. Just imagine your own thoughts. Your body is made up primarily of water. Your own thoughts impact every cell of your body, not just your thoughts, but your words also have a vibratory frequency, and that's also affecting your cells. And so your current state is your current state. You don't want to resist because what you resist persists. So here we are. Here's what it looks like. And then it's exactly what we've been talking about. Get a picture out of when you were healthy, when you're the healthiest, and imagine yourself being that healthy again. Don't think about how or why. Just imagine yourself in the state of pure health and joy. And those thoughts, speak the words about how great you're feeling. And that resonance through every cell of your body will heal you.
There are and that's such an important message. Again, it's not going into the whys. Why did this happen to me, and how come me, and poor me, and just that direction, but creating the reality. And I have to just go back to Joe Dispenza. When I was doing one of his programs, there are all these testimonials, and the message you're giving out is that you are an infinitely creative being. You can create anything. There's no limitations to what we can have in life. We just limit ourselves by the box we keep ourselves in. And the stories, the testimonials that I found that got me interested in the work that Joe Dispenza was doing, as an example, there are many teachers I've had. He was one of the more recent ones. Are stories of people who have chronic, debilitating conditions that in the material world there was no way to overcome. There was no answer, whether it's being quadriplegic or having, fourth stage cancer, that in the material world their diagnosis was, this is the best we can do, or there's nothing we can do. And people would apply these truths that we have been talking about on a daily basis. I mean, dedicated, right? Disciplined. They would do it day in, day out, no matter what state they were in, no matter what they've been told. And they shared their stories of what we would call miracles of healing, but they're not really miracles. They're just the truth of the unlimited potential that exists within all of us.
Yes. The habit of highly successful people visualizing their future 1 to 5 years out, the prayer groups that miraculously healed somebody, they're not miracles. It's fascinating, but they're universal principles. You're harnessing the power of your vibratory frequencies to impact yourself and impact others. It's all possible. And I love that it can be explained using simple science, because that's how I can apply it better, and others hopefully too.
Well, I don't know if it's simple science, but there is an explanation I mean, I wouldn't call quantum physics a simple science, because it's like, wow, it takes us into the realm of what the esoteric knowledge was all about. I mean, it's this convergence through the world of quantum physics, understanding energies and frequencies, and how they create matter, and how we create matter through the energies and frequencies that we choose to focus on and embody. So what else, Anne, is important to share with our audience today? We have a little bit of time left. What didn't we touch on that you feel is important to share with everyone?
Well, I think today, with all the circumstances we find ourselves in, the anxiety and the worry and the fear, it's just so important to take care of ourselves. And the most important message, I guess, besides figuring out what you want out of this life, is being kind to yourself. The self-judgment, I speak from experience. The negative talk and beating up on myself, it's negative frequencies, and it doesn't do you any good. You are perfectly perfect as you are. I have a lot of quirks to me, and guess what? I love them now. I didn't always, but I'm fine with them. I'm different, I'm unique, and so is everybody else. So find the beauty in yourself. That's a superpower. You're like nobody else. Go up to a flower, a blossom, if it's not resonating that you're perfectly perfect, go up to a blossom and look at it really closely and see that it's living life just as it's supposed to be. It's not a cactus. It's not a tree. It's not a bush. It's this species of flowers, flower is defined by its DNA. So too are we, defined by our DNA and our personality types and everything that makes us up to be a unique individual. Offer yourself love, compassion, kindness, and that alone will help you heal.
And I want to add to that, particularly during this time that we are in, if we stay tuned to our TV, to our radio, to the newspapers that are really purveying fearful, prognostications that we're looking at this horrible thing that's happening. People are getting, more positive diagnoses with the whole story that's going on, which is another story in itself. But if we allow ourselves to be programmed by these fearful thoughts, then we will be in an anxious state. We will be operating with those lower frequencies that we talked about, and there will be effects to our physical self, to our emotional self, that are keeping us locked into limitations and to fear. And we'll just reiterate those lower frequencies. So this is where I think what we're talking about has a practical application. If we want to make the most of this time that we are in, because there are huge opportunities for our own transformation to occur during this time, we need to be very diligent in what we allow ourselves to be programmed by and exposed to.
Yes. What you focus on expands. So if you're focusing on all the worry and the dread and that's what you're going to see more of. So, and your current situation is old news. So again, I think we're beating a dead horse, which is so important to get clear about what you want your life to look like and focus there. Focus on the outcome. Envision the coronavirus is being done and the racial injustices, there's equality now that's been solved. I mean, how beautiful is that going to be? Focus on the beauty of that. And to our conversation, don't worry about how it's going to happen. If there's something that you can do to influence and help, then by all means, use that instead of frustration. But visualize that positive outcome so you're not bringing towards you and back to you more worry, more fear, which, causes a state of dis-ease, which is what is the precursor of your disease.
So we need to turn off the television. Anything that is creating disturbance in your field, that's making you feel bad, you have to realize you have the power to change. So you can turn off the TV. You can limit your exposure to the news. The truth is, you have no power to change any of that information, if it's even real or true. So we really would spend our time, we'd be more empowered. We can create more of the outcomes we want in our life, no matter what's going on around us, by understanding the power that we've been talking about, by understanding how critically important it is to apply these truths into our lives, because it's the way out. It is the way out of suffering. It's the way out of illness. It's the way out of poverty. It's the way out of any experience that is bringing us some degree of suffering. I mean, that's what Buddha was talking about. It's what Jesus was talking about. All these great teachers. It's an eternal truth. And it's time that we remembered it and embodied it and applied it. And your work, you've kind of been, I would say this metaphorically, Anne, but you've been commissioned. This is your mission, right? This is how you are contributing into the world, your soul. This is the work that you have been given to help people wake up and step into their power. It's important work. It's important that people do this at this time. It's critically important, I believe. So this is, so special what you're doing, and your work resonates with the people that you are here to assist in this awakening process. You're putting out your unique frequency and attracting those unique souls, right?
Thank you so much for everything you just said. I agree with everything you just said. And it's funny because I want everyone in the world to have this information because it's so powerful. But like we were talking about, that's not my job, not how. My job is to create it and to have these interviews and talk and share the information. And those that this information resonates with, those that are ready for this information, it'll come to them. It's not my job to figure that part out. That's how we use it in real life.
and to that end, we need to let everyone know about your website, which is Ann M Scott. It's ANN for your middle name, Scott.
Anita. A-N-I-T-A.
Oh, Anita, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
We got to have the right address, Anita. People won't get to the frequency.
I'll help you with that.
I am so sorry. It's like I'm so absorbed in this conversation. Okay, so yes, so give that website again.
AnitaMScott.com.
Okay, so very simple, Anita M Scott, and through that website you can learn more about Anita's work and her book and the processes that she has put together to help all of us step into the power that we are. So it's a beautiful mission you have. Anita, you've done a great job. I congratulate you and acknowledge you for this work, and I so appreciate you spending time with us today and sharing this profound and uplifting message. So all the best, and congratulations on your book, and I wish you well on this journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cheryl. I appreciated your time, and I love the discussion. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and I love having these discussions, and that's what this program is all about. And for everyone listening, please join me again every week. You can either go to Progressive Radio Network every Saturday at 12 noon Eastern Time, or just go to my Facebook page, What Women Must Know, like me there, or my website, Dr. Cheryl Selman, and subscribe there, and you'll get these shows. And until next time, may your week be filled with love, peace, and harmony. Bye for now.